So this is a video that wasn't planned, but in today's video we are going to discuss the official confirmation and announcement for double Game Week 33 and blank Game Week 34. It will be a short one, but if you do enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button, and if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So as I said, this video was not planned because I've already released my team selection video earlier today and I've got deadline decisions tomorrow, and I was actually midway through my lunch when we got this announcement. Let me know down below in the comments what you think I was having for lunch and I'll let you know if anyone gets it right. However, we've had confirmation for double Game Week 33 and blank Game Week 34, and drumroll, it is exactly as the predictors predicted. That is their job and they do it very well. So a massive, massive, massive shout out to Ben Krellin and James from Planet FPL, because they have perfectly predicted the way that Game Week 33 and Game Week 34 would fall. So if you wildcarded in Game Week 30, under the assumptions that we spoke about in the videos, it is exactly what we predicted. So what that means is the four teams that will blank in Game Week 34 are Palace, Arsenal, Man City and Aston Villa. And therefore, those four fixtures from Game Week 34 have been shifted into Game Week 33. That gives Crystal Palace a double of Bournemouth and Arsenal, Arsenal a double of Ipswich and Crystal Palace, and Man City a double of Everton and Aston Villa. And then finally, Aston Villa a double of Newcastle and Manchester City. If you're thinking, what about the Nottingham Forest-Brentford game? That has been moved, as again predicted, to the midweek of Game Week 34. So what we're essentially left with is four teams doubling in 33 and four teams blanking in Game Week 34. The standout team here that have a double but no blank are, of course, Newcastle, because they did not progress in the FA Cup. And therefore, yes, they still double in 32, but they do not blank in 34. Therefore, they are a really good team to target if you've got no remaining free hit. In terms of when I look at these fixtures, in terms of quality, not just quantity, Newcastle do stand out because they're playing Leicester and Ipswich in that period, as well as two home games in the double. Crystal Palace obviously have the most fixtures, an equal amount of fixtures to Newcastle, so one more than the likes of Arsenal, Man City and Aston Villa. But the actual quality of the fixtures, you'd probably say for Crystal Palace is the lowest. And then I would say Arsenal and City have equally really decent fixtures, and they are two teams in the back end of the season you'd expect to do really well. Aston Villa are the tricky one because, as we'll discuss in a second, they might even have a further double this season. They've got Southampton at home in there, but the double itself isn't ideal. They play against tricky teams like Forest and Fulham in there, and it's very difficult to try and predict minutes at the moment. Really, the standout doubles, if we're focusing specifically on double Game Week 33, the standout doubles are Arsenal and Man City. Arsenal's is probably the best against Ipswich and Palace. So immediately, when we're thinking about captaincy for double Game Week 33, it's going to be Saka versus Marmoush, assuming that Haaland is still out at that point. So yeah, lots to digest there, but at least it's exactly as we predicted. Now that we've finally got confirmation for Game Week 33 and Game Week 34, I feel like we can at least start to talk about Game Week 36 and 37 a little bit more. I've not really mentioned it as much in my videos because it just felt crazy and we don't even know what's happening in the immediate blanks and doubles in front of us to start then hypothesizing about future blanks and doubles. But now that we know what the Premier League are doing in terms of bringing fixtures forward and also a little bit more information around the FA Cup, we do have a bit more info about what could happen in double Game Week 36 and blank Game Week 37. So this graphic is courtesy of Johnny C over on Blue Sky, another fantastic, I'd say, content creator, creates some really nice graphics, so make sure to go and follow him. But what he's got here, you can ignore 33 and 34 because we obviously have confirmation. But he's got the percentage chance of teams doubling in 36 and the percentage chance of teams blanking in Game Week 37. And remember that the blanks in 34 were caused by the FA Cup semi-finals, and those blanks have moved to 33. Well, the FA Cup finals could cause blanks in Game Week 37, which could be shifted to double Game Week 36. The reason I'm saying could is technically for some of these teams, as we saw with Nottingham Forest and Brentford, they could be rearranged for the midweek of Game Week 37 instead. As long as the team that has reached the final and or the team that they're playing against are not in Europe. So a good example of this is Aston Villa versus Spurs. As long as Spurs reach, I think they need to reach the Europa League final technically, but for a provisional announcement, the Europa League semi-final, and Aston Villa reach the final, that game pretty much has to come into Game Week 36. So if Villa reach the final and Spurs reach provisionally the semi-final to get the announcement, the game can't take place in the midweek of 37. It would have to be shifted to 36. So as a result, Aston Villa and Spurs, as you can see here, are the two teams most likely to double in 36. But we still don't know that. And we need a few further things to happen. Other teams have a small chance because whilst it could be played in the midweek of 37, we've also seen that they don't mind bringing fixtures forward to avoid congestion later on in the season. So it could still be that even if it technically could be played in the midweek of 37, the games for the teams that reach the final could still be brought forward to 36. The other team that has a really decent chance of doubling in 36 as a result is Manchester City. You can see they're at 37, and then Bournemouth at 32%. So I don't think we can pay too much attention to this now, but I'll discuss in the next section some final thoughts. This does mean that Aston Villa definitely now double in 33 and have about a 50% chance of doubling in 36. Same with Manchester City now. They have about a 37% chance of doubling in 36, but they also definitely double in 33. This is why I think free hit 34 and then committing all in for 33 makes more sense than free hitting in 33 and then committing to 34. Because the players that you want to own for 33, there's a very good chance you also want to own them for 36 as well. Hopefully that makes sense, but the likes of Arsenal and Man City, therefore, could end up having a double-double. These percentages probably update now, by the way. This is an old graphic from a few days ago, but I just wanted to bring to your attention that double game week 33 and blank game week 34 are not the final blanks and doubles this season we wouldn't expect. There is a very small chance that there are no future blanks and doubles and that all of the available fixtures, if they fall in a certain way, just stay in game week 37. But I reckon we're going to end up having this double and blank. What this does mean is that lots of us will free hit in 34, come back to our team in 35, maybe with only one free transfer, and then we're going to have doubles and blanks to try and navigate in 36, 37. And you might say, well, that's easy. I'm going to have Man City players. I'm going to have Aston Villa players. I've already got one or two Bournemouth. That's going to make 37 a nightmare. Imagine you've got 9 players that double in 36, and then 37, you've got 9 players that therefore blank. It's going to be absolute chaos. But at least we have this information now around 33 and 34. This is a bit of a rush video because, like I said, I was halfway through my lunch when we got the announcement. So we'll talk about 36 and 37 more in the coming days, but hopefully that information makes sense. So guys, then just to wrap up and go over my sort of final / initial thoughts on these blanks and doubles announcements. And again, we'll discuss this throughout the coming weeks in a little bit more detail. The first thing is Palace do have a double-double confirmed. So if you're targeting trying to get as many fixtures as possible in the next few weeks, I would try and load up on 3 Palace. And I still do advise that. But if you're really not convinced, I mean, they just drew 1-1 with Southampton, but the fixtures are really rubbish. And even after double game week 32 and 33, sort of post the blank in 34, you come back to, again, not particularly good fixtures. So if you're sat there with like 2 Palace already and you're just thinking, I'm not convinced by the fixtures, I don't necessarily hate it. This does also, though, mean that Glasner for 32 and 33 will give you 4 fixtures in 2 game weeks. So if you've got the assistant manager, Glasner still does look decent, but you still need Crystal Palace to get draws and wins from those games for him to benefit from the table bonus. Aston Villa, for me, are the standout team, right? We spoke about the fact they're definitely doubling in 33 now, but they also have the greatest chance of a double in 36. But who are we going for? Even Morgan Rogers, the great Morgan Rogers, I do think could be rotated in some of these games, or at least one of them. But then the players that you really want to own, because they're more attacking threat than Rodgers, are the likes of Asensio and Rashford, even Watkins. But do we trust that they start all of these games? They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in Europe at the moment. They've got all of these Premier League games as well. They're fighting to try and finish in Europe. It's not easy for them. So, yeah, I would keep an eye on Aston Villa. We want their players, but who on earth do you own? I've got Konsa at the moment. He's probably the most nailed-on defender, but he's also incredibly boring, right? Konsa's very unlikely to get you an attacking return. I've said here that buying Forest, Bournemouth and West Ham players will serve you well if you're bench boosting in 32 and bench boosting in 33 respectively, because in 32, Bournemouth and Forest have decent fixtures, I think against Fulham and Everton off the top of my head, and then in 33, West Ham have Southampton. So if you are bench... I've just realised I've put bench boost 333, but if you're bench boosting 33, then the West Ham players will serve you well, right? You can tell this is a rushed video. But they also, all 3 of those teams do give you a small chance for a double in 36. So you're almost getting good players for 32, 33, but also having a small chance of getting that additional fixture in 36. But then, of course, a blank in 37. Man City stand out again because they have one of the best doubles in 33, but they would also have an excellent double in 36, I think including Southampton in that week. The issue is, who is that third asset, right? Because Erling Haaland's out until potentially 36 at the earliest, we expect, maybe 37. So Marmoush is very obvious. Gvardiol is very obvious because he's the City defender with the most attacking threat, great for bonus points, and he's the most nailed. But who's that third one? Phil Foden's been a nightmare already. Savinho looks like great value, but are you telling me Savinho starts both games in 33 and potentially if they double both games in 36? I just don't know who you go for. Is it Ruben Dias? Is it Ederson? But even Ederson can be prone to the odd piece of rotation. I just don't know who we own, and this is the issue with both City and Aston Villa is they have extra fixtures, great, in the doubles, but you need your players to start both for it to be fully justified having them. The final point is I know there are a lot of people with like no remaining wildcard, no remaining free hit, and they're thinking, how do I navigate these blanks and doubles? I think the key to this is Newcastle, firstly, because they've got Ipswich in blank game week 34 and a double in 32. 35 onwards, their fixtures are pretty rubbish, though. So if you have 3 Newcastle, yes, they'll have games in every week, but the fixtures from 35 onwards are really, really poor. Forest, however, have really good fixtures, mainly for the remainder of the season, and they are now confirmed to have no remaining blanks unless they blank in 37, but they definitely don't blank in 34. So at least up until game week 36, Forest will serve you well. And again, they have a decent fixture in game week 34. I think I'll leave it there. Hopefully that makes sense in terms of... The key thing for this video, and you could have just stopped watching after the first minute, is that double game week 33 and blank game week 34 are occurring exactly as we predicted. There's stuff around 36, 37. Hopefully I've not misspoken in this rush and I've not made any mistakes. But basically, let's wait and see. We'll get the information, by the way, for double 36, blank 37, after blank game week 34. Hopefully... Before game week 35, we should have that info. At the very latest, it'll be before 36. But it should be before the game week 35 deadline. I hope that's been helpful. And let me know what you thought I had for lunch. So guys, there you have it. Little impromptu video about the blanks and doubles coming up for the remainder of the season. Hopefully you have enjoyed. And if you have, please do smash that like button and make sure to subscribe as well. Also, make sure to go and watch my team selection video from earlier where I talk about Isak and Gabriel injuries, what I'm planning with my team, bench boost, and a little bit more as well. Until next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye.